Hello and welcome to the Perception Podcast. I'm your host, Thomas Casey Zellers, and today we are hopefully going to change your perception on things that you thought you already knew.
In these 3 months of work, I really fell in love with the work, and I'm like, man, this is awesome. Started doing some really cool stuff, and we went to a lot of cool places. And I'm like, this is what I really want to do. Like, actually, this could be the business here. We usually have 5 or 6 people in a chat that we usually are giving constant information to. You know, we are here, we stopped here, we left here, and I prayed a lot about it. Like, you know what, God, you know, I don't want to be in the middle of this, but I know there's got to be a purpose behind it because I'm there for a reason. Agents should always be the one in control of the situation, and it makes it harder for us too in the security field because we have to deal with corruption in all levels. We ended up actually almost getting into a shootout with the police over taking our VIP, and it was 12 of us.
Hello and welcome to the Perception Podcast. I'm your host, Thomas Casey Zellers, and today we are hopefully going to change your perception on things that you thought you already knew. If you want, you can follow us on Instagram, and you can now even donate to the Patreon, and there you might get some pretty good benefits, so be sure to check that out. My guest, Alex. Oh, man, I'm so excited about this episode. I really am. We were just talking off camera about how I was thinking about maybe writing down some questions for you today, but I'm just so full of questions. I don't need to write anything down, so we're just gonna wing it. So if you would please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Alex Salas. I work in security. I live in Colombia in South America. Pretty much that's what we got right now. I'm 52 years old. Very active person. I stay trained quite a bit. Stay active in my profession and in my business. Taking care of people. What we basically jumping into the conversation is I take care of foreigners that come to Colombia for business or pleasure. So basically, our job is to keep them secure where they're here.
Gotcha. Yeah, that sounds like a pretty risky and dangerous job, and I'm sure we'll be talking about that a little bit. So, but first, I see all this ink you got going on. What is all that?
Just craziness. I call it art. Everybody just, I don't know, things that I've acquired with time. A few different pieces I have going on. So
yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. So getting right into it, man. So working private security, but way before that, how did you really kind of get into all that sort of stuff?
I have a brief military background. I actually also went to military school. It's always been kind of in my life. I was a little trouble when I was younger, so my dad decided that it was the best thing for me to get into the maybe like a military aspect of my life to kind of give me some structure, I would say. I wasn't a bad kid. I was
make a man out of you.
Yeah, type of thing. You know how those old guys had the mentality. My dad also was a very strict type of guy. You know, he grew up in a different environment, so his upbringing was also a very tough upbringing. You know, those people from back in the day, they had the kind of upbringing for kids where they made them, you know, men since they were little. And they had to understand that there was no room for weaknesses, so you had to be strong all the way. You know, as I developed I started growing up and I started developing my own personality and my own concepts of things. Also, I grew up in a Christian home, so that made it even worse. You know, I was very strict with everything. So that was like, man, you know, my dad was a pastor, my mom was a pastor, so I had to walk the straight line, and it was hard because I mean I had a lot of responsibility on my shoulder. I didn't want to have it, you know. I didn't want to be that center of attention. So
they're telling you to man up, and you're like, I'm 7.
Dude, come on, really? Like, I just turned 6 the other day, so come on. Yeah, but yeah. Give me a break over here. Well, you should be in a job already, type of thing. Anyways, so I moved around a little bit. You know, my dad liked to travel, so you know, as a kid in Colombia, we went to the States when I was younger. So I got raised in the States. Living in Miami was you know, understanding that it was another life. The United States is totally different. Obviously, you know, I don't have to tell you that it's so different from what South America is. I mean, I don't know if you've been to this side of the world, but it's really it's something different, and understanding the culture shock and exchanging so many different things, first the language, then understanding the culture of the United States opposed to what Colombia was like. I was young.
Was there something that was kind of like the biggest sort of like culture shock to you whenever you're just that little?
It was culture shock because we were used to so many different things, and then the United States is structured with a lot of rules. So as a kid, you were used to like riding on the motorcycle with your dad with no helmet, with no perception of danger. It was like whatever, it was normal. Over there you couldn't do that, like there was no riding a motorcycle, there was no being in the car without seatbelt, there was no people drinking on the streets. Like here, people just walk around with a beer like nothing, like it's no problem. So it was, even though that it wasn't my environment, I kind of like understood that I was in another place, that I needed to adapt as a young kid. And then understanding that I didn't speak the language, so I had to learn a new language. I had to learn uh, a new culture that I didn't know. I didn't know the national anthem. I didn't know the history of the states. All a little bit I knew was from Colombia. So it was a little bit of a shock. But as I grew up, I understood, and I just pretty much adopted the American life, and I became an American at heart. That was just my life, and to the day I still feel the same way. Even though I've been back in Colombia 4 years now. I mean, besides that, I was in Panama for like 11, but I came to Colombia, and it was like, as an adult living here, it was a shocker. I was in construction, so you asked me the question how I got into this. I was in construction, and I like doing drywall and a lot of repairs and things, and that's what I grew up doing. I enjoy actually quite a bit. It wasn't just because I wanted to be a construction worker, 'cause I had nothing else to do. I actually love what I was doing, and I kind
Yeah, you got to work with your hands.
and
Yeah.
I love seeing the remodeling part of it, like understanding when you have something one way and then switch it to another, and change a
Yeah.
kitchen and switch a bathroom around, and it was kind of fun seeing like the final details of
Yeah.
the results. So it was like, to me, it was fun. But when I came to Colombia, when I went to Panama, Panama was very similar. I understood that with my English, I could probably do a lot more work. Even though I went to Panama not to live there. I went on a project with Disney, and there was a company that I did work for in Florida from New York. And these guys they actually got the contract to start building all the stages and all the infrastructure of all the theme park. And it was going to be the first theme park in South America. It was going to be in Panama, because Panama obviously is a big hub for air traveling. And it was going to be a place where you could go to a theme park in South America without having a visa. I thought at first it was a great project. They offered me a really good deal of money to be part of this project. So they say, listen, you're going to have to come to Panama for a little bit. And while we set up everything, I went and visited the site, and it was all beautiful. Once I got there, I realized that the project wasn't as advanced as we thought it was going to be. But I met my wife, not my wife now. I have been divorced already, so I met this beautiful lady that I fell in love with. And going back to the States, it didn't sound as like, what am I going to do over there? Like, I'm good over here. So I stay for a little bit and see what happens. I ended up staying 11 years. A daughter later, and I realized that we had a kid, and I decided to start my own business doing that. And I figure, well, there's a lot of expats that live here, and they do a lot of these remodelings and things that they don't really understand how to go around it, because of the details, because of the terms and concepts. So I ended up just starting a business doing that. And I started just doing paint work, and just with the painting, I started doing repairs, and with the repairs, I started doing other things. And next thing you know, I had a full blown business doing home remodeling, and it was great.
Yeah.
I ended up meeting a lot of cool people, a lot of interesting people. I met a few people from the government, and Panama uh, has a U.S. embassy as well. And I ended up meeting a couple people from the embassy. And one guy actually told me one day, like, listen, would you be interested in maybe doing some part-time work for the U.S. Navy when they come to Colombia, when they come to Panama? I'm like, hey, sounds like fun. Why not? Going back a little bit, when I was in the States, I did security work for like nightclubs, and I always liked the security aspect of things. I did it for when I was in college. I also did some part-time security work. So it was kind of like usually in the back of my head, like the security part of it. And they offered me this job driving some officials, like some actual like officers from the boats. They actually when the ships docked in Panama, I was driving around the city, and pretty much I was their security driver. That wasn't really my job, but
Gotcha.
I started doing that as a part-time gig, and it kind of became more like frequent. Every couple of months, there will be a truck coming by. I mean, there will be a new ship coming by, and then there was it was a destroyer, and then there was a submarine, and like I started getting like the Coast Guard, and then I started realizing that all this military activity, and I kind of like, man, I really liked it. I liked the hype of it, and like being around all these military people, and it kind of brought me back some
Yeah.
flashback memory when I was a kid, and I'm like, yeah, that's pretty cool, you know. One day, some guy actually offered me to go work for him, doing some security work. And he's like, would you like to do some security work? I'm like, listen, really, that's not my thing. I was like 40 some already. And I'm like, I'm not really trying to get into any security work. That's kind of risky. I always do bodyguards and private protection officers. Like, they go through like some dangerous stuff, which I really wasn't like ready to get into. Anyways,
Yeah.
things happen for a reason. I always say God has a purpose on anything, on everything. We ended up getting hit by COVID. Panama pretty much shut down. Panama has 4 million people. It's a small country. It has a lot of power, like banking wise, but it's really a small country. No military, no, just has regular police. And I ended up coming to Colombia for a little bit, just kind of vent things out and see what was going to happen with this COVID thing. And we ended up staying in Colombia. I mean, all the airports shut down, and I'm realizing like my business is in Panama. I'm in Colombia. I was trying to do some construction work here. It's totally different than I was used to, and I'm like, I got stuck in the middle of something that I didn't understand, and I'm like, what am I doing here? So I started talking to a friend of mine that was in construction in Florida, and she gave me some part-time job doing some setting up some projects and talking to some contractors, which it was my line of work. So I said, why not? On the phone, she was like paying me like $12 an hour, and it was good money here, believe it or not. I was getting paid decently for being in Colombia, which it wasn't crazy money, but here it was resolving my situation. So I'm like, you know what, screw this. I'm gonna start doing that. So as COVID progressed, my my hours got cut back, and then money didn't start coming in as much, and I started realizing that I fell back into like I got set back a bit again. I'm like, oh shit, what's gonna happen here? So I realized that I needed to do something like urgent, and I was in a group, in a chat group with a bunch of WhatsApp group with a bunch of people that were like bilinguals, and they were doing some projects for like different islands. They had like reality shows, and they usually needed people to set up the stages and to weld to build things. And I'm like, I was handy, so I'm like, why not? I was there. This one guy out of the blue, this guy from Miami, he lives in Cartagena now. He gets in the group and listen, I need 5 bodyguards I need 5 protection agencies for tomorrow. They have to be full bilingual. The more bilingual, the better. They need to be at least a certain height, a certain size. And I'm like, okay, well, that's something that I could probably, send somebody I know. I wasn't even thinking about me. My brother lives in Bogota. He also does security work. He does like great security work. So I was like, you know what? Let me call him. But I couldn't get him on the phone. He was in an assignment, and I couldn't get him on the phone. So the guy's like, listen, but you speak really good. Why don't you send me your resume? I'm like, bro, it's not my thing. I'm not really interested. And he's like, come on, man, let me help me out. I need to fill in these spots, and I only missing one person. I'm like, bro, I don't even have the certificate to do it. He's like, I get you that as long as you promise me that you're gonna go to the classes after you're done with it. It was a 10-day project. I'm like, all right, cool, let's do it. Why not? I needed the money, so I said, why not? Let's do it. And I traveled the next morning, and I ended up doing 3 months of work. And this
Wow.
3 months of work, I really fell in love with the work, and I'm like, man, this is awesome. Like, I mean, I started doing some really cool stuff, and went to a lot of cool places, and I met a lot of interesting people, and I'm like, this is what I really want to do. Like, actually, this could be the business here. So I kind of saw it as I got this business mentality. I saw it as a business idea, and I'm like, why not do this for tourists? People come to Colombia. Colombia is a dangerous place. Why not? People know about drugs, and Escobar is like a big thing, and people come here always thinking that they're going to get kidnapped or they're going to get robbed, and people like that kind of shit. So I'm like, why not? Let me just try to bring bring that into a business aspect. And they
Yeah.
I started doing that like little by little. I dropped this Instagram account, and I started getting people involved. And then I started training more, and I hit the gym again, and I started just going back to it. And I started meeting a lot of ex-militaries here that actually dealt with the guerrillas, and they dealt with the insurgents, and a lot of crazy activities. So I started working with a lot of these people hand to hand, and I realized that it was a lot more than this job than just what met the eye. There was a lot deeper things here that I didn't know about. And one day, out of the blue, I got contacted by the U.S. Embassy through an agent, and I started doing pretty much some type of exclusive work for them through somebody else. Probably first time I'm actually speaking about this, because I never talked to nobody about this thing. But it was like, like 3 days here, 2 days there, and it was like normally moving people from one place to another, and I got somebody that needs to be moved from one location to the next. Never ask questions. Pick this group up from
Yeah.
the airport, and from a private field, 1 o'clock in the morning, and drop them off at a certain location, and you don't know nothing about anything. You expect your paycheck tomorrow, and then I would get paid. They would transfer the money to my account, and there was nothing else. It was like, but I thought, in the back of my mind, I was always thinking, am I really doing something legal here, or is this illegal? But it was never anything. It was just, I think these guys were like, they just needed to be transported while I wasn't, when they were in town. And then I started getting more requests from different people. I assume because they were probably sending my information to different groups, and I started getting calls from these other companies, and eventually they told me that, hey, do you have your business registered? And then I ended up having to register my company as a company. It's called Exclusive Colombia, and I just kept it as that. It was a logo that's exclusive, and it has a like the silhouette of a plane, and that was it. There was nothing else.
Yeah.
The guy that actually helped me design it is a guy from the States that works in the private field, and he's like, this could be a good thing because it could actually involve a lot of different things without having to say what it is.
Oh yeah, it could
It could mean, yeah, it could mean you could sell hot dogs in the corner. It just doesn't really say anything specific. So I ended up doing that kind of work, and I met a lot of cool people. And then I set up this. I kind of wanted to do something different with the job itself. So I ended up hiring a lot of ex cops, a lot of ex military guys that were like
was there like a specific reason or purpose you wanted to get those ex-cops and ex-military, just for the lack of training you would need to give somebody brand new in?
No, because here in Colombia, even if you were a ex-member of the armed forces, you have to in the private sector. You always got to train within the private sector. I always said that an ex-military guy and a ex-police officer is not a good bodyguard. To me, they're different trainings. We work for specific situations, and we have a specific field, and our operation is not the same as a guy that is an active member of the armed forces. So if a guy is a soldier, I can't have that guy be standing there with a rifle, because we don't use rifles here in the private sector. So these guys might not be used to having the type of weapons that we have, which are just regular basic 9mm weapons, and in most cases. And these guys have different training, so you kind of have to like adapt it to the job that we do. However, it does help that they have the military experience, because they have a knowledge of the crime in Colombia. I mean, talking about just Colombia itself, they have the knowledge of Colombia and the crime, and because they already dealt with it for so many years, they're pretty much aware of what it is. Since we take care of people on the streets a lot, I like relying on the police officers, because these guys, as ex-police officers, already know what the streets are like. So they
Yeah.
most of them are familiar with the street situation, how the regular the criminality operates in the cities. So since they move around a lot within with their branch, they get to
Yeah.
experience a lot of different activities, and that was to me a plus. But mainly what I was looking
Yeah.
for is to make sure that they actually spoke English. Even it didn't have to be perfect,
Okay.
but I needed them to have the language. because with the language I could sell my agents as bilingual agents, and that was a plus. So we
Yeah.
started doing mostly bachelor parties, bachelorette parties, weddings. People will come here and they're like, "Oh my God, it's gonna be 15 of us. We're gonna get pitch drunk, and we just don't want to get drugged, or we don't want to get taken advantage of." And we did
Mm.
not just the usual standing around, looking like a tree trunk, which is pretty much I kind of adapted it to something different. Like, I was making sure that they weren't going to get taken advantage of, that there
Yeah.
wasn't going to be a bunch of crazy females trying to get these guys into a hotel and then take their money and then drug them and then leave them for dead or whatever, or take a kidney out of them. A lot of crazy things could happen. So we started seeing this as more of a babysitting type of thing, within the security aspect of it. We did a security briefing for all these clients and usually tell them, listen, this is how it works. When you're still sober, there's going to be a lot of activities here. People do come to Colombia. I'm not going to lie. They come to Colombia and they do get high. They do get drunk, and they get prostitutes. It happens. I can cover the sun with one finger. It's the reality that we live. But we make sure that even though they come to do these kind of things half of the time, we make sure they understand that there is a security risk on all these things. And it happens all the time. People
Right.
come on their own and they're like, "I don't need no security guy because I'm an ex-Marine, or I was a Navy SEAL, or I'm from the Bronx, so I'm from Miami." They could start with all these crazy things, and then they ended up getting robbed because they don't know the terrain. This is a different setup here, and criminals here have a different mentality. They could be real nice to you, and they could be robbing you blind, and you won't even notice. So we
Yeah.
see these things, and,
Yeah.
and we notice.
Is there that was going to be actually the next thing. As you were saying it, that's kind of what I was thinking. Is there a different sort of, like, well, kind of like what you were saying, mentality? Is there a different, like, atmosphere, different sorts of crimes that they do there compared to here in the United States? Say, such as, like, Grand Theft Auto, murder, and I'm sure, like, the drugs down there in Colombia is still pretty prevalent.
Yeah, drugs is a big thing, especially when people come from the states, and from other, even the states and Canada, and some people from Europe. When they come to Colombia, sadly, we are the source of cocaine in the world, and people come here to find that cocaine here is like pretty much 90%
Finding
pure.
cocaine.
And then when they
Yeah.
realize that this is not that crap that I buy in the corner over there for $100, over here I get a $20 bag of coke, and it's gonna last me a whole day because it's so strong. And people get like the wrong idea, and then they stop doing, like, abuse these drugs. And then I'm like, listen, we usually tell them, we know you're gonna do it. We don't provide it. We don't touch that stuff. We don't hold it. We don't set it up for you. We don't do any of that stuff. Some crazy ways. I think that it must be at the airport. I don't know how they do it, but we usually see that it's already done when they get to their places, and they usually have it. And like I said, it's not something that we even look into, because we don't. That's not something that we mess with. We're not going to jeopardize our line of work over a bag of dope. You know what I mean? But clients.
Yeah. Is there, like, a confliction within you knowing that those like, I mean, yeah, you're not here to necessarily help with that, but, like, you're letting them be them and you're making sure that they're safe, but is there still a part of you that's like, I wouldn't do that if I were you?
So how would I put it to you? Yeah, there is a conflict. I mean, first of all, I'm a follower of Christ, and I consider myself a Christian man. And even though I was separated from the Lord for a long time, I found my way back to the right path, I will say. And a lot of these things conflict with me. I mean, I don't drink, I don't do drugs, so I'm like, to me, it's like seeing these people get like really messed up half of the time. It's like, it shouldn't happen. But I mean, who am I to tell you not to do something? You're an adult, and if you want to destroy your life, it's not really up to me to do that. You're my client. I have clients that come over here and do businesses, on paper. I don't know what they're doing on paper. They might be scamming somebody. I don't know. I got no control of a lot of times what people do when they come here. My only job is to make sure that they don't get in trouble and people don't just go and do bad things to them. Mainly because I don't want them to take a bad image of them, of Colombia, when they leave. I don't want them to say, "Oh, I went to Colombia and I got this happened to me. I went to Colombia and somebody took advantage of me, which happens all the time. So mainly what I really don't want is somebody going, like, for example, you come to Cartagena and you go to a restaurant and you go to eat with three of your buddies, and next thing you know, they charge you $1,000 for four plates of food, and like, why would you do that? So I want to make sure that you guys, that doesn't happen to you. So we go over, look over the bills and make sure that all that stuff is done properly, and that you're getting charged the right amount of money and you're not getting scammed by nobody. So that being said, it does conflict a lot of times with my beliefs, but like I said, I can't control what the world does. It does happen, and this is how it is. It's a matter of doing the work. If I can maybe give you a word of advice, and if you request it, I might be able to be like, yeah, I would suggest you to do this, which I do actually tell the clients to normalmente don't mix, the cocaine with the Tusi, which the synthetic drug that they do. They use it quite a bit over here in the party world. So you should tell them, don't mix those two things, because they could get you in a bad position. And don't abuse the drugs, because if we got to take you to a hospital, they're going to ask questions, and once they take you to a hospital, you might even get banned from coming back to Colombia. So don't abuse yourself with these things. So it's like, you could give us, and I usually do that as a security briefing in the beginning, when we get together with them, normally on the transporting from the airport to their house, we usually tell them these things.
Yeah.
But in the end, it's up to the person what they want to do. We just want to make sure that they understand that we're going to control them as much as possible. But they're all grown adults. We don't deal with kids. We deal with adults.
Yeah. Yeah. And you kind of briefly just mentioned it there, and I kind of want to dig a little deeper here. You said that you walked away from your life as a Christian, but you grew up with a mother and a father, both as pastors. So kind of walk me through your faith here a little bit.
I think I was probably was 6 years old when my parents converted to. They were Catholics, and they converted to being evangelical Christians and Pentecostal, and my dad decided he wanted to study to be a pastor. And with time, he served in the church for like years. And with time, when we went to the States, he started like helping pastoring a small church in Fort Myers in Florida. And that's how he progressed into becoming a pastor. He wasn't a pastor of a big church. He liked the family, small congregation type of thing. My dad passed away.
Real
Yeah, he liked that, like knowing the people. Like I'm like, if you were sick, he will go to your house and have a coffee, pray for you. He grew up in the same environment, grew up like that. Our pastor was a friend of the family. It wasn't just like the big pastor that didn't know anybody and have bodyguards with him. It was just a regular. So he liked that kind of familiar scenariio, and we grew up like that. But it was such a legalist. It was it was too legalities of the church. It was like so strict, so religious. So to me, it was kind of fanatic in a way, and everything was bad, everything was wrong. So I got my ears pierced. I started getting tattoos, and I went the rebellious way. I didn't want nothing to do with the gospel. I didn't want nothing to do with church, even though I would always pray. I always remember that I had the fear of God in me, because I got instructed as a kid to do it. But I decided that I didn't want to be a part of it. I'm like, I'm not going to be, dominated by religion. I'm not going to be dominated by anybody. I'm free to do whatever I want. And it got me in a lot of trouble for being like that. And, as I grew older, I realized that it wasn't the right thing. And, God started like touching my heart and making me understand that I had to go back to the path, and it was the right thing to do. And it's been working with me for a long time on many things. And I stopped like doing half of the things that I was doing in my life that I thought that I was doing right, and I wasn't doing them right. And dealing with girls, and breaking up with this girl and getting with another, and the drinking and the partying, and living a normal life that I thought that was normal, and it was really taking me away from God. And I got to a point when I realized that I had to stop the whole life, and I decided that I needed to get away from people that I knew and change my environment. And that was one of the reasons why I also thought about leaving the States. I figured if I stayed in the US, I was definitely going to lose my brain, and it was like I had to stop. And it was a crazy decision, because it took me away from a lot of things. I wasn't an American citizen. I was a resident, and I lost my residency in the States because I left. but to God be the glory, man. I mean, I think it was the best decision I ever made. I feel 100% happy. I'm satisfied with the life that I live. I'm not going to lie and tell you that I don't miss the States. I do miss it a lot, but I also understand that it was God's purpose. And I made some really good friends. I mean, I made some, like, along the way, especially doing this kind of work. I met some really amazing
Yeah.
people, man. I mean, I met, like, I had the opportunity to work with Mike Pence, as vice president. And
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
worked with him, and I ended up having some really good conversation with him. I met some celebrities. I met some sport figures. I had
Mm.
I had a good opportunity to meet a couple of UFC fighters, and it was really nice to, like, mingle with some of these cool people, and it's been nice, and it's been interesting, plus, a lot of the stuff that I've done that I'm sure you probably have questions about, that I have no idea how I got into. I'm like, oh, what am I doing here all of a sudden? Like, how am I with these people? Like, but it's cool because, like, you understand that everything has a purpose. I still don't know half of the reasons why these happened, but yeah, I think God knows what's going on. So eventually I figure it out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he does. He definitely knows. He just ain't gonna
Oh,
tell
no, no,
you,
of course not.
you
He's
know.
gonna let me. I'll find out eventually, but he's not gonna tell me now.
Yeah. No, that's actually really interesting. I actually I went to school with one of Mike Pence's daughters and was in the same graduating class as her. So
Oh, he talks about
it's
his
really
daughters a
interesting.
lot. He said he has
Yeah.
some cool stories about his daughters. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a family man for sure. Um I am curious um to kind of pick your brain on this a little bit, get your perspective on it a little bit. Because you were kind of saying about how you kind of lived the life of partying, you were um brought back to the right way, but now as we were kind of talking just this moment ago about how you're kind of conflicted with seeing all those clients of yours that will go and do drugs and will party, all that sort of stuff. Do you now see yourself as a warrior for Christ in those areas that you used to actually be a part of?
Absolutely, yeah. I definitely. I've actually met some few people that I usually tell my friends and, like, family that in this line of work, I have learned to make friends. More than clients, I've made a lot of really good friends, and some clients that have been in need of security for various reasons. All of a sudden today, I could call them my friends. Like, we talk about a lot of things, and one of the things that I like the most is that I get to talk about God with them. I get to tell them about, what God has done in my life, and seeing the testimony of the things that I actually went through, and where I'm at today spiritually. And it's amazing how I've grown as a Christian man, and staying away from a lot of things that I don't agree with personally in my life, and had to see people do it. It's like, wow, it's amazing how, like, for me, like, for example, women is, I think, like, most of the men's weaknesses is women, and being
Yeah.
around 5, 6 different girls. Sadly, a lot of these girls are half naked, or in bathing suits, or available, if you want to call it, for anything, and having to understand that to you is just like, doesn't really mean anything. I mean, as a man, you probably be like, oh, I could probably have any of these girls that I want to, just because most of those girls are, like, I don't want to, like, be offensive, but most of those girls are already paid for, by the clients, and they're like, oh, if you want to have the girl, take her, she's there, whatever, she's available. And I'm just like, no, man. Like, and some of the girls actually offer themselves, because some clients, believe it or not, don't even want to touch these girls, because they just want to have the figure of a girl walking around there half nude. And then the girls are like, they feel like, oh my God, like, I'm excited about being here, but nobody's touching me. So they're like, hey, wouldn't you be interested? Then having to tell some of these girls, like, no, I don't do that, because I'm a family man, because I believe in God, and I don't think it's the right thing to do. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Thank God I'm a taken man.
Yeah, yeah. It's trust me, it's very hard. It's very hard to say no half of the time. It's very hard to be in that environment, and knowing that the flesh is telling you one thing, but the spirit is like, be like, hey, hold up, you here, but you don't belong here. And to me, it's been a test. I gotta tell you, more than anything, it's been a test, and it's been a test of knowing that I'm in a place with a bunch of drunk and crazy guys, and they're drinking and doing shots of tequila, which I really love when I was doing my earthly thing. And then you have a bunch of girls walking around partying, and that was like, well, I'm in the middle of my environment, but I'm not here. Like, how am I? So me, like, one of my buddies, the Angel, he was an ex-police officer. He's a really cool guy. He's also a very Christian man. I love the guy to death because he's like, to me, he's one of my partners in this business, and he keeps me like centered a lot of times when I see the way that he lived a life kind of similar to mine. And even though he was a police officer, he lived a promiscuous life. I mean, he was all about like every girl that he could get his hands on. And today we're in the middle of this environment, and he's like, hey, listen, drop your AirPods on and listen to this pastor preach about this, or listen to this song. Or he's always like helping me like stay grounded when it comes to this, and it helps me a lot because I'm in the lead position, so I have to be always on top of, I'm like very hands-on with my clients. I don't like leaving my job to anybody else. I'm there, I'm always consistently with them, and I'm always like on top of what they're doing, and I'm a phone call away, and they, Alice, I need you to come back, and I'm like, I'm there. And he's always telling me like, hey, listen, I got this, I got that, listen to this, listen to that, and he's always doing it. So I'm like kind of seeing, I know God put him there for a purpose, and to me it's important to have him, because I could have a different person that likes the same kind of life, and it could just probably be it'd be something that it would not help me. It probably push me back out, and I don't want to do that. So to me, I know that's what I'm saying. God works in mysterious ways, and me being friends with him, it's been different. It's been great because he's a good friend, and not only a friend, he's a brother. He's a brother in Christ, and to me, it's perfect. It's a perfect setup.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, Arp Iron's iron.
Yeah,
man.
no doubt, no doubt.
Yeah.
And one thing before I continue, before I finish, one thing I wanted to tell you that is
yeah.
seeing that people do these kind of things has actually made me question a lot of times if this is the right thing that I'm doing. And I've prayed a lot about it. Like, you know what, God, I don't want to be in the middle of this. Like when it's 3:00 in the morning, I'm in a nightclub with a bunch of drunken people. I'm like, this is not my environment. Why am I here? But I know there's got to be a purpose behind it, because I'm there for a reason. I know that I'm there for a reason, and I don't want to be there. I mean, I'd rather be somewhere else. And when I work with executives, they're home by 10:30. I'm like, this is beautiful. They're back at the hotel by 10:30. I'm already relaxed. I'm not just, the most we'll probably do is go out to a restaurant with them and eat. That's the most I could do with them, and be with them all day long. It's kind of boring. These guys have a fun life. I mean, they go on the boats, they go on the planes, the helicopters, they do all these fun activities, but it's an empty activity. So it's like being in a security work in this environment is really hard, because you have one aspect, which is the business part, which I like a lot, the executive protection, and then you have these taking care of babysitting party people. So it's like two things, but it's all fun work. Don't get me wrong, and it pays well, but you kind of have to put your morals in between. It's kind of Anyway, so wanted to just throw a little piece in there.
No, I'm actually kind of surprised that you were talking about how Navy officials, you kind of became like their driver. It's actually, I mean, I'm shocked that like the U.S. military doesn't already have like a designated person to be that officer's driver. It's just like, all right, who we got? All right, we'll grab Alex. Like, he's your security driver now. That's actually kind of surprising to me, knowing how like organized the military is.
Yeah, believe it or not, it's and it's something that it might seem crazy, but it's every country that they go, they have to hire third party. So they have different military contractors do a lot of work that the U.S. government doesn't do. For example, I'm sure, and I've never been to Iraq, but I'm sure in Iraq they probably have like on the ground contractors to do a lot of stuff that they're not going to put a couple of sergeants or a couple of privates to go drive I don't know, a couple of officers around. Why would we do that when we could have these other guys that we're not going to pay him, not going to put him on a military salary to go do some temporary work for 15 days, Plus, they don't know the city, so why would I have somebody drive around a city that they don't know about?
Ooh,
So
yeah, get that home field
exactly.
advantage. Yeah.
So that's why I think that these private contractors like we do, we come in handy because we know the city, we know the groundwork, and it's for us it's a regular day. You know, we know how to get around them. You might be able to drop Google Maps and they might take you to routes. I know a couple of shortcuts that will not even appear in Google Maps. You know, and I might avoid situations knowing that you might see something happen here in the map, but I know that it's, trust me, it's this way is better.
Mhm.
So when we get clients to come in, and a lot of times even them, you know, when we get these type of clients to come in, we usually do a day or two before. We map out a lot of routes and we do some advancement work, and you know we just go around seeing where the nearest hospitals are and nearest police stations, exit routes, and we see all the venues we're going to be visiting. So a lot of this work pretty much is preparation, and before we actually engage into any situations that we normally don't get into, we prevent work, and most of our work is preventive. We're not gonna be doing things that normally people will be like, oh yeah, you're doing security work and you're gonna be shooting it out with everybody every day. It doesn't work like that. We prepare a lot of things before we actually go on the field, and not only ourselves, but we prepare the groundwork for the client to land. And when the VIPs come in, pretty much everything's done. You know, we know where we're gonna park, we know where we're gonna land, we know where we're gonna go, which routes we're gonna take, how many cars are gonna be on the road. Pretty much know everything. We know there's gonna be a construction site going on, a major repair on the road, and we know we gotta avoid that kind of traffic, and we gotta avoid some places. And the restaurant that we're gonna go to, we know there's a thread down the road, so we're gonna avoid going to that place, and we suggest something else. And people sometimes like here happens is you come in to do work in Colombia, and you come in to visit a couple of potential clients for a major business. The clients live here, or they're Colombians, or they live in the city, and they're used to like driving around the city all day because they got used to the city. But we know that you're not from here, so we're not going to put you in jeopardy, because we got to make sure that even though the client here might feel comfortable with it, we're not going to feel comfortable because we're seeing that there's something potentially wrong with the way that things are being managed by somebody else that doesn't know anything about security work. So we prepare the groundwork before we have the client arrive.
Yeah. So you guys have a contingency plan for the contingency plan for the contingency plan of the original
We had
plan.
to have a few X's. Yeah, we had to have a few different plans in motion just as we go along, and we usually monitor movements, transportation, as we have different people, especially when clients come from out of the state, from out of here, from out of Colombia. We usually have 5 or 6 people in a chat that we usually are giving constant information to. You know, we are here, we stop here, we left here, we're gonna make a quick stop on the road to do this, and it's constant information. And once you have the constant information, it minimizes risk, because if something wants to happen from point A to point B, you know what, you know where it went wrong, so you don't have to go dig the whole channel. You just figure the little pieces where everything went wrong. And you know, and if something was to happen, which thank God it hasn't happened, we could figure it out the next time that they don't happen. You know, but a lot of times the next time might just cost people's lives, and that's what we're trying to prevent from happening.
Right. Right. And that's a good segue into really what the show is about, is obviously changing people's perceptions. And I feel like a lot of, and I blame American media, and maybe you do too, but a lot of American media really kind of puts Central America, I guess I could say, and South America, and a lot of um, other countries um, into this sort of like view or style that it's like absolutely dangerous, don't go there, and it's also like very anti-American. Um, would you say that there's any, and I mean absolutely just any, um, things that back up that, or is it all just Hollywood and uh, popularized by
I'm
media?
I'm a big movie fan. I love watching movies, and I enjoyed a lot of movies. And I seen recently, I was seeing a movie. I forgot what, I think it was Sicario, And Sicario was a movie about this cover operation guys from the CIA. They were doing some crazy work in Mexico, and they had to do some work in foreign countries. And they usually paint Mexico as this like crap hole, like Mexico is crap. But Mexico is not crap. I've been to Mexico and I worked in Mexico in security work, and Mexico's an amazing place. I mean, I think like Mexico City is like the fifth largest city in the world. Such, I mean, like their infrastructure is like, to me, it doesn't have to envy anything in the U.S. I mean, car wise, restaurants, people doing uh, structures, buildings. I mean, just about everything. Very modern. A lot of artists travel there. Mexico's like a big hub for a lot of businesses in the world. However, people paint Mexico as this like real crap town with little shacks and chickens running around the streets. When I never saw. Yeah, there are small towns where. So yeah, Hollywood likes to paint this picture of I need to make sure that everybody understands that the United States is the best, but everybody else is crap.
Yeah. They also color correct everything in Mexico to like appear yellow, and it's not yellow down there.
Exactly. So it's not yellow like that exactly. So to me, it's Hollywood paints a pretty picture of things that are not the right picture painted as it is. Hollywood paints this picture of people here hate Americans, that we hate the U.S., that we hate the foreigners coming here, but it's not like that. I mean, actually, people see Americans as like really friendly people, and they actually kind of like the whole American vibe. And oh my God, a gringo's here, so hey, it's cool. He speaks English. Wow, that's amazing. So it's kind of a lot of people kind of get a kick out of that. And when they say don't come to these countries, I mean, I'll actually go against it. I would say visit other countries. You will never get out of your culture, and you will never get out of your head if you don't understand that there's another world outside of the U.S. Granted, the U.S. is pretty safe in a lot of ways, but like I tell all my clients, if you don't use common sense, you won't be able to go to the Bronx at night. You won't be able to go into some places in Miami. You won't be able to go to LA, to a lot of streets, because common sense will take you a long way. Here in China and in Africa, in a lot of places, you shouldn't be out. So what's the difference here? Make sure you don't go out at night by yourself. Don't go in places that you don't know. Don't take drinks from people that you have just met. Just use common sense. And common sense works here.
Yeah.
It works where you are, and it works at the end of the world. It works. There are places that if you go in, no matter where you are, you're going to be in trouble. But people go to the Philippines, and to me, the Philippines are dangerous. People go to the Philippines all the time, and Americans frequent the Philippines. And to me, it's like, hey, why would you want to go to that place? But it's a very well known, and people love the Philippines, and I think it's a great place to be. But it's a matter of you understanding that if you come to Colombia and you don't feel safe, find somebody that will help you. There are tons of people that do this kind of work. Maybe not to the extent that some of us do, but you'll be able to find a good security company that'll be able to help you walk around with you, and make sure that you use them. It doesn't have to be somebody that has to have a AK-47 or a M16 and a full body armor, because you might not want to call that kind of attention on yourself either. But you gotta understand, and if you are an urban type of guy or a hip hop artist, like I have a few of them that come here, they want to hang around with a $20,000 necklace, brother. If you walk around with a big fat sandwich next to a hungry fat boy, they're gonna want to take that sandwich from you. So don't go displaying food in front of a hungry person. A $20,000 necklace might be somebody's house here. So don't do it. Why would you want to walk around with a Rolex when you don't need to do that? Who are you trying to impress? I tell people, listen, just being an American here, you already impress people. So don't try to impress nobody. Plus, you don't need that kind of attention. Trust me, you do not want that kind of attention. The least people know about you, the better off you are. One of the things that we do for executive work, we a lot of times I would say we wear tactical clothes, because tactical clothes usually divert people from getting close to you, especially when it comes to executives. But when it comes to this party people, we usually go undercover. We wear plain clothes. We mingle with them. We become one with the clients, and
So you kind of like blend into the environment a
exactly.
little
So I
bit.
walk
They're
around.
less
I walk
noticeable.
around, and people see, oh, this guy's got tattoos. He's got a beard, so he looks like a normal one of us. He might be a Hispanic American guy, and I just pretend and I play like that too. I could be the reason why you just went and did something stupid and realized that you shouldn't have ever done it because this guy's from here. So a lot of times they come at me or they
Yeah.
come at the group and they're trying to pull stunts and I speak to them in my language in Spanish and they know that not that I'm speaking Spanish from Mexico or from Spain, I'm actually speaking slang from here. So they're like, oh, this guy's from here. Like, whoa, like they kind of like get shocked. Like, how are you speaking? Like, I'm from here, bro. Oh, okay, okay, okay. So they calm down a little bit. So I do that all the time. Constantly, we like to worry about people understanding that we are with them the whole time, and we get contracted by 10 to 12 hours by the what we charge for, and normally people extend the hours. We usually try not to go too crazy on, oh my God, you owe me this much because you extended 2 hours or you extended an hour and a half, you know. I mean, if it's something crucial, we might just adjust the price at the end, but normally we're trying to work with clients. I mean, I will be safe once you're back at the house. Once you're back at the hotel, I feel like I did my job. You know, I kept you safe the whole time and I brought you back to your place. Now, when I leave, you want to go out and do something dumb. Well, that's on you. You know, I already did my job. I don't want you to do nothing crazy, you know. But if you decide at 2 o'clock in the morning to call a call girl and be like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go walk the beach," you know, at 3 o'clock in the morning, you got robbed, well, buddy. That's all on you. Nobody told you to do something like that. So I filed my report and I'm like, "Hey, listen, I left this guy at the place." And when we do corporate work, when we do executive work, we normally sign off with the job with the security group outside of Colombia. So listen, I'm reporting the end of the work for today. You know, VIPs are safe and sound at the hotel. Send the location, and we're out for tonight. We back 0600 and tomorrow, and that's it. And everybody knows. And the minute we basically clock back in, we inform that we're on site. We're there 30 minutes early, grabbing a coffee. Make sure everybody knows we're there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's where we are.
So another perception that I kind of want to break down here uh, is again being popularized by TV shows and movies that because you work private security, you're like in the streets, guns blazing, and doing all these cool like undercover. You have like the suppressor on your pistol, and you're what they would say the American badass, action hero or whatever,
Yeah, we get that quite a bit.
Have you ever done anything even remotely close to that?
No, honestly, no, man. I mean, I could probably tell you that I don't think I've met anybody here have done anything like that. I mean, yeah, there have been cases where there have been attacks on VIPs, especially on on actual bodyguards mostly, and if somebody's trying to attack him and they ended up having to repel the attack and end up killing the 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 attackers. But it happens. I mean, it does happen. I'm not going to lie, it does happen. But thank God it hasn't happened to us. I think it has to do with a lot of the preparation that we do as well. Uh, Taking unnecessary risk is really something that it shouldn't be done. And I think that primarily the security agents should always be the one in control of the situation, especially when you're out on the streets. And when the VIP doesn't understand that my job is to keep you safe and you feel that you want to do it your way, most likely you're going to end up in problems. But we don't have that kind of things happen to them. People think that we are mercenaries. Colombians are known for exporting mercenaries. We had that big incident in Haiti where the president was killed by Colombian mercenaries, and we get exported mercenaries to Ukraine right now. They are fighting against Russia, and we have mercenaries going into Venezuela now for Maduro. They're trying to get him out because he's worth $50 million. Like, really, you that stupid? You're gonna go take this guy $50 million? Like, he's just sitting there waiting for you to catch him? you know. And, but you get people that actually, you know, jump in those movie roles, and they feel like, I'm gonna go with the silencer and paint my face, and I'm gonna go crawling down, and I'm gonna grab Maduro, and I'm gonna take him back to a helicopter, and you know, we're gonna have a heli come and grab us, and we're gonna repel, and we take Maduro by the neck and drop him on Trump's lap. No, it doesn't work like that. There are crazy things happen, but I mean, even when we work with some of the military here, we don't see that kind of action. You know, it's like I said, everything has a purpose, and I think that when you see these movies, when you see the SEAL Team 6, you know, taking Bin Laden, and they do these beautiful operations, and people think that that's what it's all about. You know, it's not. Our job is to prevent things from happening. Why would I want to put myself in a position of getting shot at when I don't even have to be there? What if I just barely take you somewhere and make sure you did what you were supposed to do, and I kept you safe? Isn't that the purpose of security work? You know, so if you want to be gun blazing and then join a gang, it's actually faster and it's quicker, and you're definitely gonna get into shootouts. And I wouldn't suggest you do that. So
I feel like the joke's going to be on us where tomorrow they're going to release like, oh yeah, so some mercenary, you know, got Maduro off on a rib boat and took him to a chopper and dropped it right in Trump's lap. Like you were just saying. Like,
so I take that back.
Like, all right, well, I guess it does happen. Like,
and I'll be like, Casey, cut that out, please. A little part that I said. Edit that. It's not gonna work.
Yeah, edit that. So like, then break down for me this, because this is something I've actually been really wanting to, I guess, ask you. I remember I had a friend growing up who took a mission trip to Nicaragua, and while they were there, they the bus that they were in turned into the place that they were staying at, and at the front gate there were two guys on either sides of the gate. Both had AK-47s in their arms, and one of the people were like, "Hey, who are they?" And the chaperone that was with them was like, "Oh yeah, no, don't worry about them. They're just the neighborhood watch." Where here in America, neighborhood watch is, you know, a dad with, you know, jorts and a headlamp on. You know, the neighborhood watch there is AK-47. So I'm curious to know if there's sort of stuff like that still going on, or if there's anything kind of close to that.
When I see those type of scenarios, and I see those when that question you just asked, it comes to mind drug environment. Nobody walks around in the neighborhood with an AK-47 unless you're protecting something very valuable, you know. And I don't think, you know, protecting a bicycle and a skateboard or somebody's car window represents you having a AK-47 for a neighborhood watch. To me, it's more than they actually talking about. And yeah, a lot of people don't want to say that when they have the neighborhood watch, and it happens here in Colombia. For example, here in the city where I live, we have people in some areas that are protected by the local gangs, and these are like organized groups. But basically, what they're protecting is the area from other people coming in to try to post up and sell dope in those environments. So it's pretty much what we call it here, micro traffic of drugs. So pretty much, I sell drugs in this neighborhood, and I don't want nobody else coming in, so I'm gonna have my guys posted somewhere, even though they're not gonna be posting like that with AK-47s, but they will be armed, and you'll know who they are, and they might even charge a small fee to go in the neighborhood if it's really that bad. But it doesn't really happen that often, and it's not everywhere that you'll be able to see. It's like I wouldn't even be able to take you to a place that you could actually see that, because I haven't been to one. So. And I don't want to be anywhere, so it doesn't really interest me to be in there. There's no reason for me to be there. But it does happen. I mean, it just, like I said, it's not a common thing.
Yeah. Does your security, or maybe not even your security, but do you know if any sort of private security has ever had any sort of entanglement with some of the local gangs there? And how do you kind of have to sort that situation out? Like, do you just kind of have to play third party and be like, hey, the gang's doing their business with so and so, I'd have to keep doing my business, which is just
Well,
keep being safe.
I could put it to you in a better way. The Colombia is ruled by the Secretary of Superintendents of Security and Vigilance. That's what it's called, and translated, it's the Superintendents of Security, pretty much. And anybody that works private security has to be a member, an active member every year to these superintendents, and as I do, and everybody else does security work. Even if you were an ex-police or military, you still had to do that to work in the private field. Just in case that you have any wrong with the cops, they always say, oh, "Listen, this guy's an active security member." Um, the there was a big problem last year where a lot of these companies have to provide security work for various members of X. When I call them X, is because they were known members of big groups of criminal groups. But now, since these groups have offer a peace treaty type of thing, they have to be protected by the state, which is kind of odd, and to me it's kind of crazy, but they have to be protected. So these security companies buy these contracts from the government, from the Colombian government, and they pretty much compete for these contracts to protect known criminals. They are regular citizens, so somewhat they deserve to be protected because they have so many enemies. So now the state is providing the private security sector of the government to protect these people. So what happened is because this kept on happening and it was so common. Corruption is corruption. You can't go around corruption. Money corrupts everybody pretty much. And
Right. It's everywhere.
exactly. So it's like these companies started realizing that if they got the contracts with the government, they could protect people. So if me and you own a security company and my buddy was a criminal, I said, listen, hold up, put some money in my company, let's buy some guns, and let's get everybody under our company, and we put them under the same program. So now my company joined. They did a co-op with the local with the government security agency. It's called UMP over here, and they do a temporary contract, a UT, and then they do a contract together, and they have criminals now under the security company working pretty much hand to hand because the criminals invested the money and the security company became their refuge, so they could operate under the security company as a normal thing. But there was a big scandal because they caught armored security vehicles with drugs, with guns, with a bunch of illegal stuff. So they realized that they were just using it as a cover up, and they're kind of like watching a lot of that. But yeah, it does happen. So now they know if you're from this security company, you might be a member of this group. So let's not even try to play with them. Like I'm very funny who I do business with when it comes to like the locals, because I don't really normally do a lot of, because I don't know who I'm doing business with. A lot of these people paint themselves as legit companies, and in 3 months you're going to see them in the paper saying that they already have, they're members of the biggest group of drug cartel in Colombia, because they got the money. They could invest money on these companies and make them look legit, basically money laundering. So it's what happens.
Yeah. Gotcha. Yeah, wow. That's there's a lot of intricate stuff going on there, and that's really interesting. I'm fascinated by all that.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, like I say, corruption is a big thing in South America and Central America. Sadly, we have corrupt governments, and we have corrupt member officials of even within the military and the police. So and I'm sure they do in the States as well, and the government as well. But somewhat, this guy's a little more. I think the States knows how to do it better. Probably became pros at it, so we don't see it as much.
Yeah.
But here it happens too, man. Here it just happens more. It's more openly, because the laws are bought very easily. So if you if you get caught drinking and driving, and you tell the cop, yeah, listen, man, I had a half a bottle of bourbon earlier, like 5 minutes ago. So yeah, and the bottle's still in the car, and you got a gun with you, but you got $500 in your pocket. The cop is like, I didn't see anything. There was nothing there. The guy was a regular. He had his daughter and a couple of nuns in the back. So hey, they went on the merry way. So you won't see anything happening because they got paid, and that's how it works. And that, it makes it harder for us too in the security field because we have to deal with corruption in all levels, and a lot of times, like for example, in Mexico, we had a VIP in Mexico. The got kidnapped. I mean, got attempted to get kidnapped in front of us, and we ended up actually almost shooting it out with the police. And this was in Mexico. This was in Mexico City, and thank God that nothing happened. And the cops, it was only 3 cops, but we ended up actually almost getting into a shootout with the police over taking our VIP, and it was 12 of us, and it was 3 police
So what
officers.
happened there?
We were coming from the office to, I mean, from the VIP's apartment to the office, and we were actually taking the same route we usually took, and because there was a construction going on, we couldn't go any other route. It was the only way in. So, but he had a G-Wagon, a black armored G-Wagon, and it was the patrol car, or our patrol car, we call it the patrol car, and it was a white Suburban in the front, and it was marked, because over there in Mexico, you could mark the cars with, it's called escolta, which is like escort. And we had another Dodge Durango in the back, also with a security work, and then the VIP was in the G-Wagon with another member of the security detail. And we were going to the office. Everything was normal. We noticed the police car was like parked in a corner. As we drove by, the guy got behind us and he turned on the lights and he trying to get in front of us, between us and the truck, and the VIP's truck. I mean, obviously our job is to make sure nobody gets in between the cars of the VIP and us. Nobody. I don't care if it's the police or the military. Just there's no reason to get in between us. So we're about to go to a roundabout, and the cop saw an opportunity and went around it and turned on the lights. And as he turned on the lights, he jumped in the middle. So it was either he crashed into the car. We didn't want the truck getting hit by the police car. So the car stopped, and then we stopped, and the cop got in front of him. So he jumped out with gun in hand and get out of the car, trying to get our VIP out. So the driver got out. The driver got out. VIP jumped in, and we told him to drive off. And one of us actually got behind him one of the truck got behind him, and we followed our VIP back to the hotel. Back to his apartment. But the rest of the guys stayed there, and the cops drew the guns, and they're like, "Wait, listen, we're all gonna die here." Well, come to see, these guys work for a known enemy of the VIP, and he contracted the police to actually kidnap him. And it's very common in Mexico that it happens quite a bit. The police actually get on the payroll of criminals, and they go out and commit these crimes, and nobody says anything about it because it's a common thing, and that's what corruption does a lot of times.
What was his motive for wanting to get kidnapped?
It was done over a contract. The guy he was debating a contract with somebody, and he had offered this dude some extra money to not take the contract because he wanted it. And he's like, "No, I'm not going to give it to you. This is my contract. I've been fighting for it for a long time." But it's like pretty much showing muscle. Like, I could do more than you can. So he said, "You either back out or I'm going to do something to you." And he didn't think that the guy was really going to be for real. And he was for real. He was trying to get him kidnapped. And we figured if he actually kidnapped him, he probably actually ended up killing him, because he was the guy didn't look like a joke. He went all out trying to get him out. So we realized that it wasn't something funny. It was real. And they ended up taking a couple of the guys in custody, a couple of the agents in custody, and they ended up fighting with them. And it looked like a movie for real. And then they surrounded. We were in a compound where the office was. It was really like a fortress. And
wow.
Yeah, we have security guys, and it has a security gate, and it has cameras and barbed wire, because he's a 28-year-old guy that makes a lot of money. So he's got a lot of enemies. He grew up poor, and then the guy ended up making like really good businesses, and he ended up doing good work in the government, and the guy got good contracts. So he's got a lot of people, they older and they hate him because of that. So he's always got all kinds of threats. I mean, there's no wonder the guy has 12 armed security guys with him the whole time, just for him. So yeah, I don't work with him before. I mean, I work in Panama with him. I've gone to Ecuador. The guy does a lot. He's like one of my biggest clients, but he's also got a lot of threats. So when I work with him, I usually have to be like very strategic, because he's not an easy guy to handle. He's very much, I do whatever I want. You don't tell me what to do type of thing. So you gotta have to like. He's one of those rebellious clients. They're really hard to deal with, because they're not used to having that structure. Somebody telling them what to do. He don't like people telling them what to do. So that makes it hard. Also, when your client is rebellious. I mean, we do get clients like that a lot of times, when they just don't want to adapt to understanding that your security guy has a purpose. That's why you hire him. But they just figure that there's no big deal. So
Do you, or have you, I guess really is, I guess a better phrasing for that question, have you kind of come to a point of acceptance, knowing that probably this next client could potentially put you in danger and be your last day?
yes, that does happen. It happens to me. Is I would say it's probably like my everyday thing when I go to work. Since I don't work all the time, I spend a lot of time with my family. I take my daughter to school, I pick her up, but I go to the gym with my wife, and I spend time with my family as much as possible, because I know I'm in a dangerous job, and I pray often, God, I mean, if this is not for me, please get me something else to do, because I'm open. But I'm still here, so for some reason I'm still doing it, and yeah, it's exciting. Don't get me wrong, it's exciting. I think it's mostly the adrenaline that keeps you going, but at some point you got to realize that things might happen, and at some point it's gonna happen. You're gonna be in danger, and I think it's being a cop, or being in the military. You might be, one day you might not come back, and I think my wife knows that, and my daughter knows that, and they see me sometimes, get out of the house, and they see me putting my gun on, and putting my when I have to wear a vest, I put a vest on, and my wife's like, are you okay? Make sure she gives me a hug. She knows it might not be another chance to say anything. So I try not to leave my house pissed off, or upset with my daughter, or even, I try to keep peace at my house, because I always know that it just might be the last time. But at the same time, I could get into a car accident, I could slip and fall in the bathroom. So really where's the dangers, and at the end, I pray and I say, God, I'm here. I'm in your hands. If it's my last day, it's my last day. And eventually I'm transitioning into getting new clients, and I like to be hands-on, but I kind of eventually want to transition into maybe delegating work. And I already have a good crew. I have 7 guys that are really like awesome, and I love these guys to death. They're like a family to me, and real loyal, and I know I could do whatever with them as far as my work, and they always copy what I do and how I do things. So we work with the same style, and we train together, and we do a lot of things together. So to me, it's a good group. And some of them I do their own thing. Like I don't keep them like tight. Like, you can't work with nobody else. You could work with other people. Just remember that what we do is what we do. What you do with everybody else is your problem. But what we do over here is this is ours. And don't share our things. Don't share our work with nobody else. Do our thing for us. And it's worked out well for me. But I mean, I've learned to, when I don't have to be there, I try not to. Like, if it's we had a bachelorette party, and there's a bunch of girls that I don't really want to be around. So I said, well, listen, I want to get all these guys to go do that, because I know me, and then I don't want to be around a bunch of drunken chicks that are going to be like, oh my God, my security guy, and they're like, oh, he's so hot, or whatever, even though I'm not. They're just drunk, and they just want to have an adventure.
You nailed that accent.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, that was
so I've seen it before. So they might, oh my God, I saw the Whitney Houston movie with she slept with the bodyguard, so why not? Let me try. It might be a fantasy, and I don't want to be a part of the fantasy, so I just leave it alone. No, believe it or not, it's in Hollywood has a lot to do with it. It does a lot of stupid things for people.
Oh golly. Oh man. So to wrap it up here, I'm gonna ask you one last thing, and I kind of feel like we've, hopefully not, hopefully we haven't been painting Colombia or any of the South American or Central American countries into a bad light, which I think we've already done a pretty good job of. But what are some of the good things about living in Colombia and just being out there every day?
Brother, Colombia is amazing, bro. I actually I enjoy the cuisine. I love the food over here. It's like, even my clients, when they come, they're like, my God, what's up with the chicken here? The chicken is so delicious. I'm like, I don't know, I guess it's real chicken. It must be. I mean, they
You're talking my language. I'm very food motivated, so
well, I tell
yeah,
you that
yeah.
you definitely need to come to Colombia. I invite you to come over. Let me know when you want to come over, man. I definitely show you around a little bit. And yeah, it's just
Yeah.
a cool place, man. I mean, it's a lot. People are friendly. The cost of living is like really cheap. Um, a
Hmm.
dollar is 4,000 pesos, and to relate what a minimum wage here is about a million three. A million three. We're talking about maybe like close to $400, 400 US. That's minimum wage.
Wow.
So yeah, if you bring $1,000 with you, you pretty much have 4 million pesos here, which you have at least almost three minimum wage monthly. So you pretty much have 3 months of wages for normal people. So kind of give you an idea where the money is at.
Yeah.
You could go eat at a nice place, a good dinner for four, and you probably won't spend 150 US. When we're sitting down over there at McDonald's, half of the time you probably do that with four people. Over here, you could actually go to a real restaurant and have a real meal in a nice environment, and don't spend that kind of
Yeah.
money. People go and they go to clubs, and they rent a yacht, and they do a lot of things that normally they wouldn't afford in the States because it's expensive. Plus, Colombia has a lot of different things, a lot of different scenarios. You could go to Medellin, which is a little cooler, and it has mountains, and they have different things, and they have lakes and nature. And you could come to the coast,
Yeah.
and you see a lot of the beach, and you see a lot of different types of food. And you go into Cartagena, and it's all historic, and it has the wall city, which is colonial times, where the slaves and the Spaniards fought, and there was, you see the cannons and all this history. And it's like this, it's different things. But the same thing, you could go to Mexico and see that. You could go to Peru and see like the Machu Picchu, where you see a lot of these ancient tribes, and they have all these things that we see in history normally in the History Channel. You see it in Discovery. We actually get to see and live the reality of what these countries are about. Go to Panama, and you see the actual Panama Canal. It's like one of the seven, eight wonders of the world, and it's seeing how
Yeah.
a big boat can go from one ocean to the next. It's like so different in sizes. It's like, how do they go from the, you know what I mean? So it has a lot of
Yeah.
amazing things. But many people have, and what you say is very true. And I like that you actually said that people have demonized South and Central America. They made it look like this is just, whoa, like you can't come here because everywhere you go, you're gonna see people shooting, and you're gonna see kilos of cocaine in every corner, and you're gonna see dead bodies hanging, like we see in Juarez in the movies, where they have like these bodies hanging from the towers. And these things do
Yeah.
happen in some instances, but not everywhere. It's not like people live normal lives. People go out here, they go to the malls, they got shopping malls, they have restaurants, people go to the clubs, people go to the beach, they walk around the streets, they have families, they have strollers, they have iPhones, they have the latest iPhone, they have an iPad. People have earbuds, people have necklaces, they have, I mean, we are normal environments, we are normal societies. I would say the going in Chicago, you might see more crime than a lot of times you'll see around here. Granted, there are,
Really?
yeah, and you when you call in a place that needs to have the military going in there. You really telling me that's crazy place. But
That no, you know what? No, that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, one weekend in Chicago is worse than a weekend in Colombia.
yeah, but people do come here a lot, and even though we have a lot of security call-ins, if you will say, on TripAdvisor from when they start raising the threat levels or the danger levels, and we go
Yeah,
from 3 to 4 to 5, and people are, oh my God, don't go to Colombia because you're gonna get kidnapped. I mean, unless you are a, I don't even know. And I'm gonna tell you something. I don't think that I've ever seen anybody that comes to Colombia get kidnapped for the hell of it. There's always a reason why. And you come into Colombia, there was this guy named Pesci, and he was a prosecutor for Paraguay, from the country of Paraguay. He was prosecuting a drug cartel from Mexico and from Colombia, and he put in prison two of the main heads in Paraguay. He comes to Colombia with his wife to stay at a hotel, and it's a beach hotel.
uh-huh.
And the guy just wants to come and have fun by himself. This guy has life threats at the wazoo. And he comes here by himself, doesn't notify anybody that he's here, doesn't hire private security, doesn't hire police, doesn't talk to the police. Nobody even knew he was here. And this was a movie. The guys came in a jet ski. He was in front of the beach. The guys came in a jet ski, jumped out, boom, shot him up, and left. He died.
Wow.
The guys that sent him to get killed were the same members of the cartel he was investigating. And how they found out he was here, his wife was posting every 5 minutes on social media, oh my God, Cartagena, oh my God, how much fun, oh my God. So he ended up getting killed. And why it happened? Negligence, lack of common sense. Why would you want to come to Colombia if you put somebody in prison that has jurisdiction in Colombia in the criminal world? So why would you want to do that? And that was a stupid move on his part, and it cost him his life. So people don't come here and get kidnapped and get killed unless they have like those big problems and skeletons in the closet. They come here maybe running away from things. There's people here, I guarantee you, there's got a lot of people that live here in Colombia. They are probably fleeing the States, or they have issues in the States, and they live here normal lives. And a lot of times, I guarantee you, some of these people might be perfect for kidnapping. And they will not get kidnapped when they get here. They might find out that he's here, and then they'll kidnap him and then torture and kill him because he stole $1 billion worth of crypto, or he took somebody's I don't know, something crazy. He was an ex-mobster, and now he's here because he ratted out somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. So Colombia's safe unless you're living a dangerous life.
or don't use common sense. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we make sure.
You want to go to Colombia, man? You want to go to Colombia? Yeah, it would be a cheap vacation. It'd be a fun one too.
Yeah, brother, I guarantee you come for 3 days and you won't spend a couple $1,000s a piece, and you'll have fun. You'll have fun.
Wow, I'm in. Let's do it.
Yeah. Let me know. You got my contact. You already seen some of the stuff. Yeah, you gotta. I'll send you the brochure. I'll send you what we have going on.
Yeah. So, go ahead and take this time now, Alex, to let people know where they can find you, and if there's anybody watching right now that needs some security because they're planning a trip to Colombia, how can they find you?
We are on social media on Instagram mainly. It's exclusive.colombia, and exclusive is just the X, not the E at the beginning. Just S, exclusive. I'm sure you're probably going to drop the link somewhere in there. Exclusive.colombia, and we also have our website, exclusivecolombia.com. I'm exclusive.com. I'm sorry, .co, and I'll send you the links anyway, so you could have them there. You could check out what we do, and not everything is mercenary work. We do some cool work, and we keep people safe in all aspects. So we have families, we have churches that come here, and we got 30-40 people from a church to come and do cool activities. So Yeah, I invite everybody to come and check out Colombia. It's not as bad as people paint it, and don't believe everything Hollywood says. It's not true though.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being on the show, man.
Oh, thank you for having me, man. I appreciate you for real.
The insight on what it is that you do. It sounds risky, but it sounds safe, and I mean, my mind has totally been changed today for
I
sure.
appreciate you, man. That's definitely, it's been fun. It's been fun.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, for real.
Yeah, and God bless you, man. Hopefully, God continues to move
Amen,
in your
amen.
life and you stay safe,
God
brother.
bless you as well, brother. Thank you very much for the time. Appreciate you.
Yeah. If you like today's episode, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I'm your host, Thomas Casey Zellers, and I will see you in the next one.